changed something. 9/11 has changed something. And I am aware, there's a beautiful book that I'm sure many of you here have read called Letters to a Young Poet. It was the poet Renee Rilke writing a series of letters to a young poet that were published in this book, Letters to a Young Poet. And I'm reminded of a letter in which Rilke said, sometimes in life, we do not know the answer to our deepest question. At such a time, the conscious person, he did not use the phrase conscious person, but he says the artist, at that time, you must simply live the question. Whether we are talking about America or any other country, no one at this conference, no one in the world can say exactly how to create peace on earth. However, the most important issue of our moment, of our time, is that we live in a moment where there be a critical mass of people on the planet at least asking the question. Let us live and dwell in the question. As we live and dwell in the question, it is undeniably a painful place to be. And so our capacity, what is necessary, is a psychological, emotional, spiritual, characterological facet of humanity in which we are willing and able within our own hearts to juxtapose pain and hope. To juxtapose an open eye in which we do not look away from human suffering, in which we bear witness to human suffering, in which we refuse to look away, in which we exhibit that invisible force of nonviolence which Gandhi spoke of, which Jesus and other great religious masters have spoken of. When you allow compassion to flow forth from your heart because you refuse to look away from the agony of your fellow human beings. Now, our temptation of the lower regions of consciousness is to look away, not because we do not care, but because it hurts too much. Most of what is called by others apathy, I do not believe is usually actually apathy. It is the pain and ultimate psychological weakness that sets in when looking is just too hard. And yet if you do look, if you allow yourself to witness, at 100 million people who died during the 20th century in wars on this planet, the majority of whom were civilian populations. This is an interesting issue that I'd like to point out since there are so many women in the room. There was recently, the Democratic Party in the United States had a conclave calling women to Washington to talk about the main issues that would be represented by the Democratic Party. I looked at the agenda and I chose not to go. And the reason I chose not to go was because there was not one issue that had to do with war and peace. So that's not a woman's issue. Ladies and gentlemen, but particularly women, let's get this. In war, it is mainly women and children. It is mainly women and children who died. Whatever thus is true right now in Iraq. And I believe that it is time for us to realize that what is occurring right now, whatever it is, that is keeping the women of the world from rising up and saying in the deepest way, in the most powerful way possible, enough is enough, has nothing to do with what men are not allowing us to say. It has nothing to do with what institutions are not allowing us to say. It is about our own removal of our own blocks and the retrieval of our own courage, that we don't care if it means we die in the process. We will die knowing I said well.